in flow, where your deepest heart's desires become reality. At Set to Love, we offer strategies and ideas on how you can stay out of crazy town. See, your human experience is meant to be lived with meaning, purpose, and creativity. You are here to contribute through your essence. We are best friends, moms, entrepreneurs, and above all, find our flow in assisting you to find yours. We come together weekday mornings to bring you ideas to fall deeper in love with your life and the journey that you are on. Take what works and ditch the rest, and always stay set to love. Thank you for being a part of this community. We're all designed to live in flow. So let's go.
How are we flowing this morning?
Doing great.
Good morning. Set to Love. I'm Shelley here with my best friend Eva. Another Friday. So excited. Today we have an amazing person to listen to. I'm so excited. She's a speaker, a life coach, and a business coach. She is just amazing. Her name is Tiffany Peterson, and we want to welcome you. And we're so excited to hear your story and how flow and your coaching, what you want to tell our people. So good morning.
Hi, beauties. Good morning. I love that you're creating such nourishing space to just share the goodness, and it's a treat to be with you this morning. Hello from Salt Lake City, Utah, where we're definitely a little chilly, and it is autumn and moving into winter. So I'm a little envious, Shelley, of this tank top business.
Right?
I change out of my sweater in the morning. I wear it because it's cold in the morning, and then we get off the show. I'm like, oh, I need a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I know, right?
A little different weather.
Wow.
I lived in Orem for a few years, Tiffany. I love Salt Lake.
Okay.
I want to tell her how beautiful her hair is. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
It's
You're so kind.
pretty and healthy, and I love the color. I'm like, okay, can we have a girl minute for a moment? You are just so pretty.
Oh, wow. You are just so kind. The funny thing about life is I am a natural redhead, and I grew up here in Salt Lake, and I just absolutely growing up hated being a redhead. I was so teased for it. You know how we're all teased for something, and I just got teased relentlessly for my red hair. And now I love it, absolutely love it. But at the time, man, it's like, oh, I couldn't stand it because
it's funny how things change.
Yeah,
it looks like Pantene hair. I love like those commercials where the girls are like this, and it's just flowy and beautiful. It looks so nice.
Thank you, sweet girls. You guys are so kind.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, so what are we going to talk about this morning? What, Eva? Come on.
I want to dive in first and have Tiffany tell us about yourself, how you got to where you are today, what it is that you do. Let's just dive right into that first before we start diving into some personal development stuff and some of the areas that you're an expert at.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, again, it's so good to be with y'all. And I think, the theme of my life has been willing to trust the flow. So I love that this is what you're talking about, because as I was sharing with y'all before we went live, my life looks very different than the way I initially had planned it, as a young girl and as a young woman. And so part of that is the willingness to go with the flow. I think we can all relate to something we thought life would look like or what we would be doing, and how the learning of trusting the river of your life and where it's leading you. And for me, or for you, whether you say God, source, universe, how you plug into that, but the willingness to trust. And that foundationally, I think, is in our, belief system. And the good thing is we can decide what we choose to believe, right? Sometimes we don't know that. We just inherit beliefs from our environments, from our families, from our childhood, from parents, from spouses, significant others, you name it, rather than just being really conscious of what do I choose to believe. And I think one of the most foundational beliefs that we choose is life working in my favor? Is life working for me or against me? I think it's attributed to Einstein, whether it's true or not, but attributed to Einstein, this quote that says the most important decision a human being ever makes is deciding, do I live in a hostile universe or a friendly universe? Mm-hmm. And so I've chosen, and that's important to know, I've chosen it because sometimes emotionally I don't feel safe or supported or in the flow. Sometimes emotionally, I feel fear and anxiety and uncertainty. I mean, I felt a lot of those feelings this year, with this world that we're navigating. But no matter what year we're in or our age or our industry of business is, we do feel various emotions, but foundationally the choice to believe that I'm living in a universe that loves me and it supports me. And I believe in a God that has my back and is leading my life and helping guide and direct me, even through, of course, and especially through, the tough stuff. So long story short is I grew up here in Salt Lake, and I thought I was going to be a traditional classroom-based educator, a teacher. I went to school at the university and specifically thought I was going to be a special needs teacher. I've always had a soft spot for kids with disabilities and challenges. And I did work in a few classrooms here in Utah as an aide while I was going to school with kids with various things from autism and Down syndrome to learning disabilities. And I had a happenstance meeting, right, in the flow. Yeah. I was on a double date in college and met this woman whose father, and she was working for, had a training and development company. And a couple months later, I saw an ad in our local newspaper at the university for an ad to go to work for them. And I thought, that sounds like the woman that I met on that date. And I went and interviewed with them, and I went to work for them in the training development world in a basic entry-level position, and became aware of Franklin Covey. And Franklin Covey is a company that's produced some incredible training, content, day planners, books, including a very well-known book by Stephen Covey called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And that's been a massive influence. If you've never read that book, I highly encourage it because...
Oh, I almost have them all memorized. They're great.
Again, Tiffany, the name of that book?
Yeah, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It was on the New York Times bestsellers list for years and years and years. Mm-hmm. And if you're an author, like to get on the list for a week is a big deal, let alone a month or a year. And it had real staying power and such a massive, great influence. So I went to work for them selling personal coaching. Back before anyone even knew what a coach was, you guys, we had to explain on the phone. We're like, yeah, so you'd work with your own coach. And they're like, a coach, like a sports coach? And, so I've watched this coaching industry grow up, legit. I've watched it go from explaining the concept to mass adoption in our world, which I'm thankful for. And now we have all kinds of great coaches, organization, animal, business, life, health, wellness, there's all kinds of ways that we can be in a coaching relationship. And so I worked for them for years, achieved some awesome sales records. I went on to be their first female to be a top 10 performer, and and that's not because, you guys, I was not great in sales. Again, I was going to be a school teacher and then get married and be a stay-at-home mom and sew Halloween costumes. That was my life plan. Nothing like that. And so I went on to work for Covey, and then I worked for Jack Canfield's team, and then Rich Dad Poor Dad, and had some great experience. But I was successful in sales because I was passionate about principles, and that passion, and then I had work ethic. And so the passion and the commitment just really changed the course of my life. And I went on to be a corporate trainer for a number of years for them. And then I went out on my own 11 years ago this autumn. And I now mostly spend my time, I speak to all kinds of audiences, all kinds of industries on sales and mindset and self-care. But I spend a lot of my time coaching women with a business and helping them take better care of themselves, helping with their mindsets, their beliefs, their confidence, as well as their sales systems and sales funnels, so they create a financial gain of doing whatever they're doing, whether they're a realtor or an insurance or a life coach or a direct sales company, is how I spend a lot of my time. So that's a little bit about the background, but I'm super passionate about helping all humans have skills and tools to take better care of themselves and to have, the confidence to create life more so on their terms.
So Tiffany, if you had to pick one of Franklin Covey's 7 principles that you think is, I know they're all really good, but like the best one, or one that really has resonated for you in your life, which one would that be and why? Did she freeze?
I think she froze for a second, but I'm sure she'll be back.
Yes, we know how this internet stuff works. Okay, Shelley, I'll tell you, we'll see if she pops back in here. I'll tell you what one of mine is. And I was listening to a podcast this morning, and it's about seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Wow.
Truly, to be able to seek first to understand someone else. Like, why do you believe the way you believe? And to really come from a place of empathy and compassion. And then to be understood. It's not like, listen to me. I have the right thing, or I know the right thing. It's first seek to understand, like, how is this person coming from where they're coming from? In this podcast I was listening to this morning, they were talking about how we do not do that enough these days. And it's really causing neurological issues in humans because we're not able to connect, because we just want to be right. We just want people to see things from our perspective and not from the other person's perspective. So that's one that really, really stood out to me. And the other one that I'm curious to see if hopefully she comes back in is begin with the end in mind. And we've heard that so many times this week in our speakers, right? And that's one of Franklin Covey's principles. Begin with the end in mind. See what it is you want to create, whether you're a business person or you're that creative person or whatever, but having a vision of what it is that you want to create, then you're able to really bring that forth. So those are the two that really stood out to me. And I love Franklin Covey.
What you said in the first one, I haven't read his book, so I don't have one to offer, but I can say one thing that I've learned too from the principle that you're talking about is when you really are present and you don't try to think what you're going to say to, like, even not outdo, but I mean, like, everybody likes to contribute. I think sometimes if you just stay present and really keep listening, you benefit and you grow so much, because even if somebody doesn't think like maybe I do or you do, it is really interesting to grow and learn and to see another side of things. And if you're not open, it's almost, just like anything. If you are so closed-minded, you miss out on so much. Doesn't mean I have to agree, but I can really grow and learn from that. So
this gal was talking about, so she's a neuroscientist, the one I was listening to this morning, and she was saying how if you took people with different views on something, like some big principle that they would usually just argue and butt heads and never find common ground, and you took those people first, and before you said, oh, you think differently about XYZ issue, and you found the things they had in common, oh, yay, she's back. You would be able, let me pop her back in. Hey,
yay!
How it goes? Hold on, let me move you over.
Okay.
There you are.
Yay, sorry. There was some, like, it froze and then just shut down.
That's okay.
I just saw you, like, your pretty face, just like, and I thought, she's frozen. Wait, am I frozen? Is she frozen? It takes a moment to figure out what's going on.
Maybe we were talking about something really powerful and we just circuited the system. Who knows?
It's true. So what I was asking you, and what Shelley and I kind of dove into a little bit while we were waiting for you to come back in, is of the 7 principles, since you are so skilled in them and you know them so well, and truly, I really feel like they stand the test of time. Talk about like divine inspiration that Franklin Covey brought those things in. If you had to choose one, I'll say, or two, because I picked 2, but 1 or 2 that were at the top of your list as far as just for humanity, for the general person out there to really know, embody, what would that or those be?
Yeah. You realize that is like asking me my favorite pair of shoes in the closet, right? Because they all fit, they all serve a need. So you will all need to read this book, right? Audible, or read it or whatnot. I would say if I could pick at least 2, that's okay. I would say habit number 2 is begin with the end in mind. And the power,
oh my gosh, we just said that.
Yeah. So the power of vision is our vision leads our life, right? And there's a quote I read years ago. I don't know whose it was. It was on Pinterest, but it was this quote that said, without vision, man or woman simply repeats the past.
Wow.
Think about that. And whether you want to quote the Holy Bible that talks about without vision, people perish, or Tony Robbins or Jack Canfield or either of you beauties, we know there's great power in vision. That our life is in steep pursuit of where our mind lives, right?
Wow.
And our mind, a lot of times how we change our life is the zip code we're letting our brain live in. We need to move out of that space, and we move into this place and having clarity about beginning with what do I want to be? Who do I want to be? How do I want to show up in my life, in my relationships, in my business, in this challenge? Like, who are we going to be? Like right now, all of us could ask this question of, regardless of this outcome of this election and this dynamic, because there's a lot that's afoot, who are you going to be on the planet? How are you going to show up in relationships? And you think about that concept of vision and saying, oh, wait, I'm going to choose into that. Behind me right here is my own vision board here in my home office, right? And the power of that just holds space for symbols, signs, images, words of who I choose to be and the life I choose to create personally, professionally, financially, and so forth. And so I think that one is, I have to say that one.
Okay, but the second one, I want to know what your second one is.
This is so hard because, again, they all, like, you think about be proactive or sharpening the saw. And I'm such a self-care advocate that I would most often, I'd be drawn to picking that one. But truly is habit number 5. And it was the habit that was the most requested when I worked for Covey. And habit number 5 is titled Seek First to Understand Before You're Understood. You probably said that one too, right?
Those were the two. Those are my two.
We're feeling this. We're like synced up. But it's true. And you think about how often, and so whether you're with a sales team or you're with your personal relationships or you're in a board meeting or a sales presentation, whatever it is, if you want to increase your influence, right? And we use the word influence a lot in the date that we live in. But if you truly want to influence someone, you want to gain their trust. You want to gain their, that level of commitment in relationship. The reality is that you get there by seeking to understand them. And I think if, again, it's a blanket statement, but I think if all of us, but it starts with me, it starts with you, and it starts with those listening, we're choosing in to say, I'm going to be committed to be the change we wish to see in the world. Because that's a really lovely quote to put on your social media. I'm talking about let's commit to living the work, right? Because it's easy to post it and it's pretty and it's cute and it's inspiring, but it's saying, I'm going to be the kind of person that chooses to seek to understand someone. Because one of the I think the bigger challenge we're facing here in the US right now isn't that we have difference of opinions. Difference of opinions have always existed. That's not our issue. Our issue is our lack of choosing to say, I can hold space for people different than myself.
Wow.
That's our issue. Isn't the difference, is how we're communicating and our choice of a lot of this cancel culture, which is like, if you don't vote like me, you're out of my life. If you don't believe this in my life, we're not the same, you're done. Like, delete, get out, move on. And I'm not talking about if people are truly toxic in your life, which means they're intentionally destructive in your world. Having a difference of opinion, though, doesn't make someone toxic. It doesn't. It means, okay, we have a difference of opinion, but it's, can we create conversation together? And can I hear you out and listen to you, even if we're going to have a difference of opinion?
Yeah, for
so
sure.
That to me, it's like, but that's always been influential. But it's, again, especially where I coach so much in sales, is I like to say, ask more, talk less. Seek first to understand. Diagnose, then prescribe in your sales processes versus, hey, let me just speak at you versus let me understand you. People always buy from, vote for, do life with, get married to, stay in a relationship with those they know, like, and trust. And a lot of ways that we build that is our skill set of, do I help other people feel valued and important to me? Do they feel seen? Do they feel heard? Do they feel respected? Because as long as respect stays in the room, you can have some beautiful dialogue and conversation about differences. Where we get in trouble is when respect leaves the room, right? Now, again, I'm not perfect at these principles. I'm sure committed to them. But if I had to pick two, it would be those two, even though that, like, there's part of me that feels this real pull of like, yeah, but what about number 1 and number 7 and all things? But there we go.
One of the things I want to ask you, and it's mostly because we're about having flow in our life. 2 questions. One is, how did you know when you were in your flow? Like, what was that transition like from all the hecticness of life? And then number 2 would be, how would you explain to someone how to find even a small bit of a start of having flow in their life?
Yeah, I love that question. I think about the thought that comes up for me immediately is asking yourselves the question, what nourishes me? What centers me? What grounds me? What feels like home? Like I call self-care a lot coming home to yourself. I do have a free training on my website, a download called Free Self-Care. It's a self-care guide. You find it at my site, which is just simply tiffanyspeaks.com. The tab free resources. And there's this whole grid that maps out for you, body, mind, heart, spirit. I think when we're cultivating the space of listening to our own heart, right? And some might do that through prayer, meditation, yoga, a great run, time in nature, lots of ways we can connect or tune into that. I think I'm so much more trusting of the flow when my self-care and my nourishing of myself is high. I have less resistance to, oh, well, that just happened, or that didn't work out, or wait, family plans for the holidays are canceled. And that brings up these. But if I'm really doing my self-care well, whatever's happening professionally or personally, I have so much more trust, and keeps me in the flow. Sometimes flow for me means creativity though. And like you can see my little, the camera goes the other way. You can see this creativity happening back here, where it's like, sometimes that means to me is like, getting some healthy snacks, putting on some good tunes, diffusing some essential oils, getting out my flip chart and colored markers. And I just create. So flow for me can be creative. Flow for me can be very spiritual. It definitely has that heartbeat throughout. And flow for me also has a lot to do with trust. And it has a lot to do with playfulness. One of the best things, and this might sound odd to you guys, but some of the things I give my coaching clients regularly is the assignment to play. And they're hiring me to grow their sales. And you're like, wait, what? You want me to go play this week? And it's like, yes, because everything is energy. We live in a vibrational universe. Everything is energy. So sometimes when people are really trying to grind it out and hustle and launch, and they get in all this energy where they're like, ooh, we gotta release that bubble. And so it's like, go play, take the weekend off, or take Friday off, or go with your significant other if applicable, or take yourself on a date, go get a massage, go to your favorite cafe. You need to do takeout right now, understandable, whatever the dynamics might be, but is to really put yourself back in a flow state where then business starts moving. I mean, it's fascinating, my friends, is I watch this happen every single time I coach someone. It's our very first week one assignments. We work on self-care, and one of them is a joy list, right? And to create a joy list, if you want to hear what that simply is, I invite you to create a list of 24 things. 12 things cost money, 12 things do not. And you're accountable to doing at least one thing off your joy list a week. Now that's minimum, right? That's bare bones. More likely, a more vivacious is, I'd like you to commit to something daily off your joy list, right? Whether it's a hot soak or reading for fun, going for a hike, something that just like fills you up, from small things to big things. Some things have a price tag, some don't. But it's truly that you're saying, hey, I'm doing more and more where I'm nurturing me. I'm investing in the vessel, as I like to say. And because you're the one that's creating your whole life, it's like putting some time and space into the vessel is so important for what you're producing in your sales or producing in your creativity, getting that book complete and written. Because I can't wait for an autographed copy of that thing, beauty, Sometimes how we help get there.
But so here's the thing, like, let's talk about perfectionism for a minute. Cause I know like my sister has to have everything perfect in her mind. Like she wants the best of this. She sees it a certain way. So she sees the vision of what she wants. And I'm the same way. Like I can see the vision, but then it's like, you're so committed to that vision or that it being, looking or feeling or whatever, that you never launch, you never take off, or you kind of just barely get into it and you kind of pull back. So how do you get past that? And, like something like this, we're like, yeah, okay, let's go with it. And then there's other things that you hold closer and you're more afraid or unwilling or need it to look a certain way. How do you move beyond that barrier so that you can create and bring beauty into the world?
Yeah. But I love this question and topic because I've done so much work on it myself. I'm a recovering perfectionist. anyone else in the room, we're working on it. And I think I've made a conscious choice, just like the belief was a conscious choice. I made a conscious choice and still nurture that choice, because it's not like you do it once and you're done with perfectionistic tendencies. But I made a conscious choice that progress was the focus, not perfectionism. Tony Robbins says progress equals happiness. When you're progressing, when you're in the garden, nourishing it, watering it, weeding it, there's so much joy. I have a tiny little garden here in my home in Sugar House, Utah. And I love to be out in this little tiny garden, right? And these little garden boxes. I love the process versus we sometimes are only about outcomes as humans, right? Is this going to be a New York Times bestselling book? Am I going to make millions of dollars from it? Or I don't want to do it. It's this all or nothing sometimes thinking. And I feel like for me, it's choosing into progress mindset. And one of the things I teach with my goal setting process that we go through is to be effort-based in your measurements of goals. You can have big outcomes, right? Like your vision, other side, whichever way I don't know. Trying to coordinate the camera. I get a new skill to learn with StreamYard. But the reality is yes, have vision of outcomes, but your goals, have those be more habit-based. Like I move my body every day is one of my personal goals. And so whether that's a 10-minute walk or more of a yoga session or a good run or something, it's less about the what and it's more about the process. Like, or if I'm nourishing my business or writing a book. I will tell you this, when I first started my business, my very first little workshop I hosted back in 2010 of February 2010, and it was called the Success Strategies Workshop. How's that for a great name?
I love it.
Oh boy, a one-day workshop. And I, rented my little hotel space and was marketing it on mostly just Facebook at the time. I didn't have a website at the time, didn't have an email list. And I hosted my very first workshop. And guess how many people came to my very first workshop?
5.
Oh, close. So I had 37 people come to my first.
Oh, that was really good. I was like, I would have been happy with 5. 37.
Right. Listen, but here's the thing. And that sounds great, right? You're very first one out of the gate. You put yourself out there. You did it. And the willingness to take the imperfect action. Well, when you understand behind the scenes that 30 of those 37 people were my family and friends doing me a really good solid, close. I really had 7 people that signed up for my workshop pretty much. Well, now fast forward over the years where now I've spoken on all sizes of stages, thousands of people, hosted my own live events, typically between, 300-400 people and as large as 1,000 people in my own live events over the years. I would never have the platform I have now and the resources and the success that it has brought me if I wasn't willing to put myself out there and get started. My very first product, my very first YouTube video, I look back at them now and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cringy, right? But I also have a lot of love and compassion. Like, you go, girl. You were willing to go for it. You didn't wait until you had the perfect studio set up or all the things. And so I think it's a willingness is often why, when we get under the why, most people procrastinate their goals and dreams is, again, they're waiting for perfection. But perfectionism, sorry, I have all this light. Like, we just got fine. But a lot of times why we're doing that is because of fear. Perfectionism is just dressed up fear. It's fear. Like, imagine fear, but in a Louis Vuitton handbag. That's all perfectionism is it's saying, I don't want to look foolish. I don't want to be judged. I don't want to humiliate myself. I don't want to feel that vulnerable is what we're really saying. Versus, can I take imperfect action to achieve my goals?
You know what, though, Tiffany, when you told that story about 37 people and 30 of them were your family, what came to mind for me was what a beautiful gift you have of 30 people in your life that are supporting you. So, it's almost like the cup half full or half empty. Yes, it was 7 new people, but it just showed you that you had 30. I mean, how many people have 30 supportive people in their life to be a part of cheering you on? So I think it's also too how they want to look at things. There's always a silver lining in everything. And thank God you did take those choices, because you've really offered a lot to the world. That's for sure.
Thank you. It's just the willingness, and I still get to work on those fears and those nerves. Like, just because I worked on them once, like I'm saying, doesn't mean they're gone. It's just having more consciousness where I recognize it faster. Like, oh, this is what this is about, So, but thank you for letting me be with y'all today.
Tiffany, I know you need to go. You have a doctor's appointment you need to get to, but I want to thank you so much for being here. I feel like, I'm writing questions, and there you have so much knowledge, and just your background and all the amazing people and companies you've worked with and what you've built yourself. So I really want to encourage people to go to your website. And you said it's tiffanyspeaks.com, right? Do I have that right up there?
You do. Yeah.
Perfect.
And there's resources from sales training to mindset to self-care and to goals that you can download and access for free. There's a lot of resources there.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity. I mean, I do want to say you're part of the Set to Love family. We are just so blessed that we got to visit with you this morning, and I'll look forward to speaking with you again. That's for sure.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for doing great work in the world and spreading positivity. It's been a joy. So much love, ladies. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Tiffany, so much. Really appreciate it. Isn't she awesome?
Oh my gosh, that was so cool.
I literally was writing down like, okay, what about this? And what about this? And she's like, I need to leave by 9. And I said, okay, we'll take what we can get.
I got goosies a couple of times. She'd say something and I'm like, oh, I can really relate with that. That is so true. And that's part of the thing is we get to learn along with all of our viewers. We're learning too. And how great is it that we can bring amazing people into people's lives? This is what's so fun about this.
I feel so grateful for all of our, hold on. I'm going to throw up a couple banners here so people know how to get in touch with us. I do feel like so excited about these opportunities, and how coincidental that the two things that really stood out to me from Franklin Covey, which by the way, Shelley, I'll just send you something. It's really like one of the very first personal development people out there, and the 7 Habits. His son created like 7 Habits for Teens, and it's a beautiful program and a lot of really good information there.
And you know what? I also want to say this morning, because I know she's listening, is your sister for being our faithful viewer every single morning, how much it means to us for her to give us the love and the support and the feedback. Yes. I mean, all of these weeks, she's been our cheerleader, and I just want to thank her so much and sending her big hugs and appreciate her taking every morning to be with us.
Yes, me too. Me too, Blisticus. Love you so much. And everyone else out there who is committed to staying set to love and creating a life in flow. How can you get in touch with us, you ask? Well, send us an email, settolovepodcast@gmail.com. We are here Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we appreciate the opportunity to come and to be with you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tiffany Peterson, for being on our show today. We love and appreciate you and all the work that you're doing in the world. My best friend, Shelley, I love you. And I hope you have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.